Next is from Fall Vampire. The subject is the ultimate punker. Wrestling Bio's content gets brought up a lot here, mostly because he's awesome, but I have to ask K100 on this. On his recently Reliving the Wars episode, he's now at the Nitro and
Real quick, what's wrestling bios?
I guess it's a video channel that does
Yeah, it's they do like biographies of careers of different guys and stories about like here's the story of Lesnar versus The Rock.
So
It's
reliving the
not bad.
wars,
Yeah.
reliving the wars episode is he is now at the Nitro when Ultimate Warrior made his big debut in WCW, and there was a ton of buzz and people were expecting some incredible stuff to happen. And within 3 weeks, the buzz had worn off and it was all back to normal for WCW. My question is, isn't this exactly what happened with CM Punk and AEW? Right now, some are talking about Punk's AEW 2023 return like it's a big deal, but in reality, guys like Bischoff are saying that it really means nothing. Konnan, Disco, and Joe, I would love your take on this. Is CM Punk more or less the modern day version of the Ultimate Warrior? A lot of fans looks cool backstage and generally not the right choice for the top guy in the company. P.S. The stuff that comes out of Conan's dog's is more likable than Billy Body. Interesting. I'll say, Eric had a pretty good take on Punk where he just basically said that they should cut the cord because he hadn't been worth it to the ratings. But I would disagree with Eric in that the ratings aren't good, and he's at least means something. Like he's one of the only guys you can point a finger at and say that guy's actually drawn numbers. He's like one of the only ones. Like if you did the metrics of their numbers and stuff, and thing like who's drawing, like Darby, I think does pretty good in the numbers, but Punk for sure was a guy that like even though the numbers weren't great, they were better than other people. So I would say I don't know. Bro, that company's got a lot of problems. They don't do good. They don't do a lot of character development. They don't do a lot of storylines. They just keep throwing, announcing matches, throwing them out there. Not a lot of build up. And Punk kind of did good TV when he was there, even though it didn't draw that great. It drew better. So what do you think?
Yeah, I remember when he first came on, you and me had the discussion about what type of impact he would have, and I said that place is going to melt when he comes out and he's going to pop a rating, which he did. But then the problem was, and I hear it was Punk and not Tony, that he wanted to wrestle with these young talents, but he was wrestling with young talents that, number one, weren't over, and to this day still aren't over. The Lee Moriartys and all these other people that he was wrestling. And in my mind, it was like, bro, you don't do what Punk wants. You do what the fans want, And that was a big mistake. They mishandled him coming back because as we both, and this is something me and Disco agreed on, if all of a sudden Nate Diaz is coming back, you don't put him against Joe Schmo from Kalamazoo with a named guy, George Jorge Masvidal, something that's going to pop.
You throw him in there with a top guy.
Right, and they did not do that.
No, for a while they didn't do that.
So they hit him with MJF,
Yeah.